Welcome to the Vera Thomas Show, where testimony, reality and truth meet you at the front door. Perspective to propose. Politics, religion, we talk about the real world we live in. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it on the Vera Thomas Show. From purpose, uplift, encourage, inspire, motivate, and let's talk about it on the Vera Thomas Show. The Vera Thomas Show.
Hello, hello, hello. I am so excited today to have my guest, Miss Chandra Bryant. And before we get started, let me tell you a little bit about her. Chandra Bryant has a BA and an MaOL. She is a Canton native, Chief Executive Officer of Community Restoration Center, Incorporated of Stark County, where she has served for over 28 years. She leads with the vision of restoring the community, one man and one woman at a time. A Canton native and a strong advocate for change, redemption, and community restoration. Chandra has held leadership roles with the Ohio Community Corrections, JRC Board, SCMBA Mentorship Program, Reconnecting Canton Advisory Council. She elevates Advisory Council and several others. She is also a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated and a licensed missionary of the National Church of God in Christ, as well as trustee at her local church, Mount Zion, COGIC. Passionate about purpose and destiny, Chandra uses her platform to inspire others to transform their lives and community. Well, Miss Chandra, I am so happy that you're here with me today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. And I'm going to give you the floor and just share with our audience a little bit more about you. What was your childhood like? How did it impact you? And how did you get into what it is that you are doing?
Okay, so for my childhood, grew up with in a household with my younger brother and my mom and my stepfather, the one who raised me. And it was pretty normal. You know, working class parents, and you know, they were going to school, or they were going to work. I was going to school. I guess you could say I was a latchkey kid. That was a thing back in the day, where you know, your parents are still at work, and then you're coming home after school, and maybe they're still at work, and so the oldest child. And so had responsibilities for after school chores, expectations, and the bar was set really high academically. My parents weren't playing any of, anything that was subpar or very serious about education and trying to do things in excellence. And so, yeah, I would say my childhood was relatively normal when it comes to how it impacted the work that I do now. Is my mother was doing this work before I, and she was the previous executive director. And so I saw that influence early on. And she held several other roles before being the executive director there. She was brought on there in 1989. And prior to that, she did other nonprofit work within the community. However, the last place where she was community restoration centers, and then it was called Community Treatment Correction Center. And so I definitely grew up, and while I was still a child when she started the work there. And shortly after, I think I graduated. And so high school, at least. And so, but I remember vividly her taking on that role and the challenges and the reward she felt, and just how it even impacted her at that time. And just seeing her in that light, being able to impact others. And she was the best role model. And God really knew, of course, he knows what he's doing all the time, right?
Yes.
So I won't even say that. But I will say that this role definitely, the job, the work, it chose me. That's what I like to tell folks. Like, how did you get involved? It literally chose me. I started off being an early childhood educator. I thought I was going to be just a teacher. And that was really where, when you graduate high school and so early on, you have to choose, what do you want to be? What do you want to do? And at 18, you really don't really know. But you have to have some idea and some direction, right? And so that's where I thought I was going to be led to do. And I did do some work there earlier on. I did teach Head Start. And we had, at that time, the organization had a youth advocacy program that was in the summertime to just help juveniles be on the right track. And there was a small grant to be engaged in that work. And so since school was out in the summers, that's literally where I started, in the summertime. And one thing led to another, and one role led to another, to another. And I am still here 28 years later.
28 years later. And I know your mom was an icon in our community. And there's a center named after her, the Dion Cash Center, which is a part of what it is that you're doing. And your mother, she was my friend. She was the sweetest person and wise beyond her years. And for her to take on this mission, this ministry, because it's really a ministry. When you're making a difference in people's lives, it's truly a ministry. And your mother did it with gusto. She did it with passion. She did it with purpose. She knew that this was the path that God had chosen for her.
Yes.
And you end up taking on this ministry. Yes. And like you said, you didn't really plan to do that.
I literally did not. And it literally started like in the summertime, and as God would have it, after summer was over, a position opened up. The coordinator at that time had moved on. And she said, hey, I don't know. This is just with a grant. I don't know if you really want to stay on because it may end. I don't know if you want to leave your real job, But at that time, we were raising a family. And so it was like kids at home, kids at work. So it was really kind of like a nice break not to have to go back to teaching at the preschool level at that time. So I was ready to take on something different. However, I did not know it would lead to a long-term career in community corrections. And so, yeah, but here I am. God chose me for the work. And like you said, it absolutely is a ministry. I believe that when you're on a platform to impact lives, that it can't be anything else.
Yes. So kind of walk us through your process, how do you get these people in? And then talk about some of the things that you're doing to help transform their lives.
Okay, yeah. So we're a licensed halfway house. We are a private, nonprofit, 501c3 organization, and we are in a contract with Ohio Department of Rehabilitation's for halfway house services. And so the work that we do really is what it sounds like, halfway house. So you're halfway home. And so we're there to fill in the gap between their reentry into the community and going home. And so in our facility, we have case managers to oversee their programmatic stay there. And we offer cognitive based treatment to get the thinking on track. Because as we know, as a man thinketh, so is he. So it's very important to address any thinking errors. So because behavior follows that, right? And to really have them reflect on maybe some value systems, and if that's something that needs to be maybe revised or edited in some ways, because value systems also shape us. And so we have case managers walking them through that process. And then we have cognitive behavioral therapy and treatment that we do in-house there. And anything else that client may need, we address through the resources in the community, and whatever we need to do to make sure that they're successful. The goal is that they make it home. The goal is that they make it home, that they were better by being with us, and that they're able to go ahead and live their purpose-driven life, which we know is not to go in and out of the institution. And so we try to really stress that, like, you were created to do so much more. Sometimes people can just get caught up in a cycle and a vicious cycle. And we know, the enemy is always working, right? And so even if you have someone who is in your corner and trying to help you through a process, it can be a lot of challenges with making sure you just stay on track of that type of positive thinking and goal oriented to, okay, I'm here at the halfway house now. I came in with a set of goals and I need to stick with those goals and see them through. So you can go home to your family. You can go home and be the husband, the wife, the brother, the sister, the mom, the dad, the aunt, the uncle, the cousin, the friend, the employee, the employer, what have you. But that's the goal, to make sure that they go home and can live their purpose-driven life.
Yes. Now, you talked about cognitive. There may be some people that don't quite understand what cognitive behavior is. So you want to kind of share a little bit about what do you mean by cognitive behaviors and cognitive-based procedures and processes?
Sure. It will really start with how you think and addressing thinking errors, and then problem solving and social skills. And so one of the curriculums we use is thinking for a change. And so it addresses how do you think about a situation, because perspective can really be the gauge on whether you're going to make a good decision or a poor one, right? How you look at something. And so we try to concentrate on different perspectives. How do you see this? Where do you see yourself? Let's reflect on what is it that you could have done differently in this scenario. And so we do a lot of role play, and we try to do real life scenarios. If they're in the house, for instance, you're in our halfway house, it's residential. But if you're going to go home on a home pass, or you're soon to leave the program, then we like to do role plays based upon what does that look like when you go home? Who's there? Is that relationship broken? Is it strong? Does it need work since you've been gone? Do you hold the same role there that you did before you left? You might have left as the head of the house, and maybe since you've been gone, someone else has stepped into those shoes. What does that transition look like when you go back home? And so we like to do role plays and have that kind of dialogue and conversation and think through those challenges and work through those challenges. And then when we're talking about and so that's like the cognitive piece, or the cognitive, I think one of the groups is cognitive behavioral. And then the other piece is the problem solving. And so when you have these challenges, then how do you go about solving the problem, because inevitably there's going to be something, there's going to be some challenges. And so how do you go about problem solving? What tools do you have in your mentee? What tools do you have to work with? Where can we help you there? And then social skills, based on just socially, where are the challenges? Where are the gaps? Have you ever made an apology before? What does that look like? What does it look like when you do use humility and make the apology, and then someone doesn't care that you made it? So what's the advanced practice of that? And what does that look like? And so we spend a lot of time on just those conversations and encourage them to just kind of be open with that, so we can really begin to address some of the real life challenges that they would face, that they will face while they're there. Even with employment, it's say you're not going home yet, but you're seeking employment. How do you present yourself when you go for the interview? What are you talking about when you go to the interview? Yes, you've made a mistake. You might have made a bad decision, but who are you now? Who are you now? Let's start here. Did you learn from it? And that's something that you can talk to the employer about. What are your skill sets? It's your first time maybe ever having a job, but what are you good at? What do you enjoy? Where have you showed up strong in your relationships and your family dynamics, where you still have some talents, right? God has given us all a degree of talent and some strengths. And so it's like you still have value, you still have worth. And sometimes it's hard to identify that if you are in a very low place. And if you feel like you're starting from a deficit, it's hard to imagine that you add value, right? And so that's part of what the program also addresses, and try to just meet them where they are.
Mm-hmm.
And go from there. We don't, we don't like focusing on the past. Let's let that pass. You learn from it. It may have shaped you in some way, but where do we go now?
Yes.
Let's get to it.
Yes.
Right? Let's get to it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, what is the average length of time that you have a client with you on average?
We'll have a few short-term clients, but I would say the average is anywhere between 90 days to 180 days.
Okay. And
go ahead.
And within that time frame, you're pouring so much into them, and it's consistent that it can't help but make that transformation for them.
Yeah, and that's the goal. And also, we try to assess whether someone is what stage of change they're in, right? Because you could be gung-ho, I'm ready to, I've made up my mind and I just need the tools and I'm ready to make the change. And then you could be at a contemplation more of stage of change where like, I'm ready to make the change. I don't really know what changes I need to make though. And so again, we're trying to meet them where they are so that we can just across the board and be able to address the needs. And this is mental health wise, this is physical. You come in needing glasses, you might need something going on with you medically that maybe did not get resolved fully, or you didn't even address it at all, while you were away. And so again, the case managers address that. We're making sure you get a physical and see what's going on with your health overall.
What is the average length of stay that your clients have had in being incarcerated on average?
On average, I would say probably anywhere from 2 years or less is probably some of the might be the average. Hard to say without looking at the data. It's really across the gamut. Sometimes you have folks who have been in longer, and then this is maybe not their first time at the halfway house, but we don't believe in just a second chance. We believe in another chance.
I love it.
And that's how I feel like God, what he does for us.
Yes.
If you're willing to put in the work, then we're there to help support you.
That is beautiful. And, like you said, God gives us chance after chance after chance. And for your clients to recognize one, your past does not define your future.
That's right.
And two, that spiritual piece, how important is that piece in what you do?
It's everything, to be honest, Vera. Uh, because I could not do this work without the Lord. That's just plain and simple. Like he is the center of my life. And I'm not just saying that, like, he is the one I know who placed me there. Again, because I did not choose this work. It chose me. And I said yes to it. Right. And so I knew with that he was obligated to take good care of me then with doing it.
Yes.
Even when my mother passed, and I remember being in her office, and at that time I was the second person in charge, and so I think that it might have been, I don't know if I was the interim director at this point or if I was the executive director, but I recall being in her office and saying, well, Lord, I don't know what all she did in this office. Like, I know my role, but I'm not quite sure all of what she did in this office. And he said, perfect, because then you'll have to depend on me. And I promise you that's it. And I remember feeling like, okay, then, might have even sounded like a little brat, but I really do view God as my father. And so it's
Yes.
like, okay, well then you got me then. So if that's your feedback to me, it's like I have to depend on you. You better believe that's exactly what I'll be doing.
And I
Because I
want
don't know enough. I don't know enough to lead the charge in that capacity without the Lord, without Holy Spirit leaning on Him to lead and guide in every way. And of course, of course, you learn along the way too, um, and still learning and growing and developing. But that faith part and the spiritual part behind all of what I see that we do there is huge. It's critical. I couldn't do it without. I couldn't do it without.
I hear you. And you talked about, you heard of that still small voice and the way the Lord speaks to us and how he leads, guides, and directs us in many different ways. And so he's come to you in a small voice. What are some of the other, let's talk about that journey and how he's just wrapped you and led you and guided you and
Oh,
protected you.
oh my gosh! All of just what you said, and 50,000 things more. Because there's just so much that as you lead an organization with not just clients but even staff that you come against or you come up against and you just aren't completely sure of or might not have the answer to, right? And it's like so many, it's like, oh my God, Lord, here's the issue, but you know what it is, but if you don't fix it, it won't be fixed because I don't have it, whether it be monetary challenges or otherwise. It's like I really have put it in his hands. And so there's been times where maybe there's a financial challenge. And even when, the building that's named after her, the Dion Cash Center, I knew we had outgrown our space at that time. And it was something that she was working on before she passed away, the relocation. That was a whole project. And, when she passed, it was something that was now in my lap. I'm like, great. Okay, Lord, how am I going to pull this off? She didn't even be able to pull it off. So how am I going to be able to do this, right? But I had someone tell me before, our church mother at that time, that said, hey, your mother has big shoes and big shoes to fill, but don't worry about filling her shoes. You have your own.
I love
And
it.
that stuck with me. You don't have, because, you inevitably, I'm her daughter. We're in the same role. So you have this dynamic where maybe people want to compare and contrast, and so there's that element. And maybe even I was doing that a little bit even to myself, just trying to measure up, make sure that, okay, what would she have done? And am I living up to the expectation of even her legacy? And, it's like, okay, well, Lord, if, like I said, monetary challenges, when we were looking at the relocation project and trying to figure that out and what did that look like, and kid you not, I knew we were gonna go. Like I knew that. Like I knew that much. Like, okay, Lord, you're gonna make a way because first of all, this is a ministry. So these are your people, right? And so if we've outgrown it and we need something more, then you're the source for that. I don't have the resources. So if you would have to do it. And so I was just waiting on the date for it to happen. So I had a big, the gigantic yellow sticky notes that you can get, the real big post-it ones. I had
Yes.
just written really large, like, Lord, I thank you for our new building. And I put it in my office. And different staff would come to my office and say, oh, Mrs. Bryant, we have a new building. I said, we do. They said, where is it? I said, I don't know. It hasn't manifested itself yet, but God is going to make a way. And, I remember getting some, kind of like, okay, and others, I think were like, oh, okay, but it was real to me, and I kept it. It was up there a little bit crooked, just in handwritten, Lord, I thank you for our new building. And it stayed up there until we got it. And I didn't know. And I mean, it was probably a few years, before it was definitely years before it happened.
But
and
you knew it was going to happen. You knew it was going to happen.
Because I knew that there was no way he would put me in a position to fail. Right. And so I knew if I saw the need, he knew it was a need already. And so it was just probably the journey, the process, something to be learned through all of that, patience, faith, you name it, whatever the reasons are that sometimes we don't see God just answer immediately,
Right.
and in our minds, we're like, but you're God, you could just, and it's done, just speak it and it's done. Yes. And of course, that's how we would like to say, like, you see that we need this need, Lord, just let the money come, let the resources come, right?
Right.
But that's not what works.
Right.
And so, go ahead.
No, go ahead. This testimony is something that people need to hear, because right now we're living in such a time where our faith is waning. The fear is overwhelming. Yeah. And so if you can just kind of talk about what people can do to increase their faith, to trust God. And like you said, you wrote this down and it was years before it happened.
Yes.
But years. He said, write the vision, make it plain.
Make it plain. Make it plain.
So just kind of share with our audience, for those who are feeling like maybe even some of your clients felt when they first walked in the door, a sense of hopelessness, a sense of fear, a sense of doubt.
Yeah.
And how can they grab onto this faith that we know surpasses understanding, that peace that surpasses understanding? So I'm going to give you the floor and just let you talk about that.
Okay, Holy Spirit, activate. Yes. I would say, the first that comes to mind would be to really get serious about your relationship with the Lord. He wants to be known, and he wants a close relationship with his children. So the first thing it would be, to know him as your Lord and Savior. He is Lord, but is he your Lord? And that's so critical, because God can't be second. He has to be first. And sometimes, we want to skip that part. And it's like, no, he has to be first. His way, his perspective on things, his kingdom, it really is seek ye first.
Yes.
The kingdom of God and all of his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. And he's never seen the righteous forsaken or his seed begging bread. Yes. So it's like, once you make him your Lord, and you grow close with him, and you get to know him, he's going to draw close to you. And then
Yes.
at that point, it makes it much easier to say, I know you. And the only way to know him is to read, is to get in the word, right? And have the
Yeah.
devotional time and the communion time and just to sit with him and understand him. And uh, once I think that relationship it starts to cultivate and you really engage in that in a
Yes.
serious way, not a
Yes.
plaything, but a serious way, like, God, I gotta have you. I can't live
Yes.
without you. And that's
Yes.
one thing that even though when I lost my mom, what it did tell me is like, because in my mind, my mom was my plan B. Like if something happens to me and well, then my mother can raise my kids. And, it's like in many ways, I grew up, she raised me to be very independent. But in many ways, I would look even as an adult. And my mother passed when I was 36. And, up till then it was like, okay, well, my mom would be a plan B if something terrible happens, like she got my back. And once she left, even though, my grandmother was still here and I still had extended family of aunts and uncles and cousins and all that, siblings, it's nothing like a parent or your
No.
mother, at least for
No.
me.
Me
And
too.
so once she was gone, it forced me to know, no, God, you are my plan A, B, C. You got my front, my back, my side. She's gone. And so it strengthened my relationship in a way where I knew, like, okay, if I don't have you, I have nothing, you know. And I just feel like if you really get serious about that relationship, there's no way you're not gonna be disappointed. It's so much easier to have
Yes.
faith when you understand that he is your father, like he loves you, he is the source, and it doesn't
Yes.
matter what problem you're facing. At the end of the day, it's not over until it's good because he's
Yes.
good. And so he's in it.
Yes.
And so if he's in it, and if you're in him and he's in you, then there's no way that he's just going to leave you. He won't.
Amen. Amen. And I think of the scripture, if you seek me, you will find me. If you
Yes,
seek me with your whole heart,
whole heart,
your
your whole.
whole heart. And even when you don't feel like it, you got to trust him. You
You
got
got
to know that even when things seem like they're falling apart and you just don't know what to do,
yeah,
you got to know that he's
yeah.
got your back,
He's
your
got it,
front and your sides. He's
all
got
of it.
you. All of it. All of it.
He's got you, and that all of it. And that was something, in her passing. I said, well, because I didn't feel like I could make it without her in any capacity, And I said, well, Lord, you must know something about me that I don't know about myself. And I remember that even in grief, it was like, look, you said, I just gave back his word to him. You
Yes.
said you could do everything that I needed. You said that you are a mother and a father. You said that you would take good care of me. And if and you said you love me. And so if she's not here and I'm still here, then I have to trust that I'm going to be okay. And if you said these things, then that's what I want. I want to be whole. I don't want anything broken. I don't want this scenario where you hear some people say, well, you never get over it. I don't want that testimony. I want, if full healing is available to me, that's what I want. I want to be fully healed. I don't want it to be in grief. I don't want to have anything broken, anything missing. I want it to be like she never left. And in regards to my wholeness. And that
Yes.
was a journey. He walked me through that. It didn't happen overnight, but I remember the day it happened, and I was in my bedroom and I just dropped to my knees. I was getting ready for maybe church or maybe work. I don't know, but I didn't know it had to be a weekday because I remember my husband was still laying down, a weekend, because my husband was still laying down. And I remember going to the closet and I said, and I just fell to the floor. I said, he healed me. It was like it was removed. And that testimony I carry with me because that taught me anything is possible. And
Yes.
so so I know that, she's gone. I miss her, but that brokenness, that pain, that heartbreak, he completely annihilated that. I can't
That's
even recall
beautiful.
it. And through that experience, I know if you can do that, because I know how broken I was. I know what kind of shape I was in. And it's like, and if you can do that for me, everything else is small fish.
Yes.
Everything
Yes.
else is small fish. So that's
Yes.
what I would just encourage people. Just get serious. Get serious about the Lord. If you do not know him, invite him in to be your Lord and Savior. And then from there, ask him just to teach you how to draw near to him. Teach
Yes.
you how to trust him. Give you practical ways on how to learn about him and get into his word. And every
Yes.
day is not going to be perfect, but he never asks for perfection. But
No.
he does want us to deliberately and intentionally make him first and the priority in our lives.
Yes. Yes. And even if first thing in the morning, just praying and thanking him for waking you up this morning, because he
Yes.
didn't have to do it.
Didn't have to
You
do
know,
it.
he didn't
Didn't
have
have
to
to
do
do it.
it. And
Didn't
just
have to do it.
thanking him first thing in the morning, praying and
Yes.
asking him to lead and guide and direct your day. I'm
Yes.
telling you, it's powerful. It's powerful. Now
Yeah.
I'm going to come back to your organization, and I'm going to pull up your logo, because I think your logo may well have something more to even do with the spirituality that we're talking about. So you want to talk about your logo and how you came up with this particular design?
Yeah, I submitted my ideas to a graphic designer, and shout out to Terry Lee of Market 55 Group, and let him know the spirit of where, because at this time we had changed our name from Community Treatment Correction Center, and we wanted it to speak more of what we do, why we do it. And so we had rebranded, and we were looking for a logo, and I remember him just sending him a list of what was on my heart at that time about how I saw the work that we did. And then from there, he sent me different things that I could edit and review and tweak. And then we came up with this one. But it really was about just upward mobility, elevation, going forward. And we, of course, it doesn't have a particular face. It could be male, woman. It doesn't have a particular color or ethnicity or nationality. It's just about restoring in a way that you grow, you develop, you move forward, you keep going,
Yes, that's
and not to
beautiful.
have a low bar. Like you can set it high. You can set it higher, and you can reach it at different levels. You don't have to do all at once. And also to be patient with ourselves when we are going through those journeys, because I think so oftentimes when we set a goal for ourselves, like we want to hit it now, you know um and then I think we don't give ourselves enough grace in terms of, well, it's the journey also that's important. It's
Yeah.
not just reaching the goal, but it's more about, who are you becoming? What are you learning along the way? I mean,
Yes.
sometimes that's lost. Even with the halfway house, it's like, okay, well, I want to get in here and I want to, some of the clients come in, I want to get in, I want to get a job, and I want to just hurry up and contribute to my family. You're like, and you're going to get to that point, but let's talk about where you are now and some things, and make sure your thinking is on track. We don't have to rush into employment, because once you get it, we want you to maintain it. And we want you to
Yes.
have the tools to maintain it. And look at
Yes.
this time as a special time in your life that you have to just focus on your
Yes.
wellness, of all around wellness, on being better, growing, develop, reflecting on you, so that when you do go home, because it's going to go by fast, it's a small time in eternity, whether it is the 90 days or the 6 months, it's all, time is moving so fast in general, I feel.
Yes.
And so it's like it's going to go by faster than what you know. So just kind of live in the moment of what can you glean from it right now. And I think
Yes.
it's so hard to live in the now anymore.
It
You
it
know?
is. It is. And I'm sure you teach living in the moment, because if we can live in right now, what's going on right now,
Right now.
then we don't have time to focus on the past.
No.
And we really don't have time to focus on the future because the future is not necessarily promised to us.
There you go.
So living in the moment. And audience, I want to encourage you to live in the moment. Whatever it is that you're doing, embrace the moment.
Embrace the moment.
And
because we don't know how many more moments we're going to get.
We don't
know if we're going to wake up tomorrow, and I feel like if we lived more in the moment, we'd have so much, like you were saying, just praising the Lord and thanking the Lord for just waking up. We live in such gratitude. I think that we live in so much more gratitude.
Yes.
If we just live in the now. Today, right now, I'm okay. I feel good in my body. My family's safe. I got a roof over my head if that's the case, or, whatever challenges that we do face. Someone has more challenges. Somebody somewhere has more. And if we could just focus on what we do have, what is going right, what to be thankful for, but this is, and so I feel like we're always just kind of like as a culture and as a country, as a society, as a human race, we're always in this kind of like chase, this flux, this everything is more fast paced and what's tomorrow and instead of just taking the moment. And I think that has to also be done intentionally, because just the way our lives are set up anymore, it's kind of geared to look at what's going to be tomorrow and plan for the day and and it's like it has to be met with such intentionality or we miss it. And
absolutely.
I can't believe that that's a space that I'm sure that God would really love more of his children to take more intentionally and purposely, of just because in his word it said, why are you worried about tomorrow? It has its own problems.
Yes.
Tomorrow has its own set of problems, right? It's right now.
Right now.
And so I think, we would benefit so much more if we would just take that on and just living in right now. So we try to slow down our clients to say, hey, you're here right now. You're not home yet. You're close. But what can we do while you're here to help you for now? So you can be so better when you go home that you never circle back around to anybody's halfway house. You could work on yourself to the point that you go back home so prepared, because they're employed, they save their money there. A lot of times that they're able to buy a car when they leave or get their own place when they leave, or they can go home and not be a burden, but be a support.
Yes, I love it. And we're going to pause for the cause. I have a commercial I need to play, so let me play that right quick.
Okay.
Mama Knows creates high quality products that are available to be used on multiple textures of hair. Her goal is to bridge the gap to stop people from having to use multiple products because of families with multiple hair types. Her products are currently being used on men, women, children of all ethnicities. Mama Knows products are available at www.mamaknowsproducts.com. That's www.mamaknowsproducts.com. You can also find her on Instagram at Mama Knows Products, because Mama knows what you need.
Hair products, shampoos, conditioners, elixirs, hair growth serums, all kinds of things for your hair, and they smell great. You want to check out mamaknowsproducts.com. Why? Because Mama knows what you need. So check out mamaknowsproducts.com. All right. Now that that's done, let's come back to our conversation. One of the questions I want to ask you, because I know you've got some success stories, and I know you weren't prepared to give concrete kind of things, but if you could just kind of share some of the successes over this 28-year period of time with our audience, so that they know that what you're doing is real, what you're doing is transformational, what you're doing is changing lives.
Yes. Yes. And we definitely we have many success stories. Some of my favorite are when they're reconnected with their families and in such a healthy way. And they've been able to go back home and make positive contributions. And they haven't, re-involved themselves in the criminal justice system at all. And I recall I was at a red light once, and I hear it beep, 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 beep. And I looked over, they're like, Mrs. Bryant. I'm like, hey, he was like, it was an ex-client. He's like, this is my car. I got my license. I bought me a car now. I'm working. I was like, oh my gosh, that's so and then the light turned green, and then he kept on going. But I'll run into different success stories out in the community, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm still at that job. They made me the manager now. Or
Wow.
trying to go on and say, hey, I bought me a house, or I reconnected with my family, and now I'm able to see my kids, or I got custody of my kids, and I relocated here, and now I've been able to keep my job and establish, a home and with my family, and or I have my own place. So we get that a lot. We get a lot of those that, and it feels, I can't even describe. It's just like so warm and cozy,
Yes.
like, well, Lord, to God be the glory. I
Yes.
know to you, regardless how one may feel about someone who has been just as involved, they're not throwaways to the Lord.
No.
The least of these, that we have to be concerned about. And so sometimes our demographic, I know, is not the warm and fuzzy one. Some people have that, may feel like, okay, well, if they did the time, they did the crime, they do the time. And that's not, something that we feel passionate about or compassion for. And you'll have that. However, we do have, folks who do support the work that we do, and partners. And it's just the best when you run across the clients and they've done so well. They completed the program successfully, and then they went on to maintain that employment or get them a home, even if it's just being able to effectively rent a home. But we've had folks who have gone on to, purchase a home, purchase a car, save their money, get their kids back, get promotions, and overall, not reacquaint themselves with the justice system. And that's overall what we're after. That we made a difference in how you see things, how you conduct your life, how you see the decisions that you make impact the people who love you, not just you, but the people who love you. And how do you restore those relationships, as well as maybe how you even see yourself. Because a lot of times that's exactly where it starts. How do you see you? Do you value you?
Yes.
And if you can start to value you, then you might, it start to govern yourself differently.
Absolutely. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And I know that I can just imagine the overwhelming sense of gratitude and sense of success that you feel when you come in contact with clients that have made it over and no turning back. No turning back.
No turning back. Yeah, it's such a great feeling. It's like I said, I don't even know the word. It's just so warm and cozy, and it just reminds me, like, okay, and Lord, this is why, this work has to be done. Because it really is about restoration. It is really about restoring lives to, and it's just a definite reminder of how important the work is for families, for our community, and in many capacities for them, for the workforce, to have healthy, whole people, to be able to contribute, and for them to go back to their families, like I said, in their rightful seat as whatever role that you have, because you have one, and for to see them take on, to take it seriously and to engage in that responsibility of change and restoration, engage in that process in a way that produces even the outcomes that they're excited about, that it's huge. It's huge. And I know our staff feel the same way.
Yes. No, and I'm thinking what's coming to my mind is breaking the cycle, because oftentimes many people that are in have been incarcerated, a lot of their issues stem from their childhood. Do you find that to be the case?
We do. We find that to be the case a lot of times, that a lot of dysfunction and unhealthy patterns started in the childhood. And, the thinking errors and the lack of proper problem solving skills or social skills started a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
Um, some of the stories are really sad. When you hear like how young they may have been, or maybe they came from foster home, or just from a family who had a whole set of issues that kind of brought them into their issues and
Mm-hmm.
taught them bad habits. And so that's really tough. Um, it's really tough when we come across that, but a lot of it is that sometimes it is generational, sometimes it is just like I said, the unhealthy patterns learned at 7 years old, 6 years old,
Mm-hmm.
5 years old, 10 years old, that never got addressed, you know,
Yes.
or didn't get addressed fully, or didn't get addressed properly, or didn't, and then sometimes we find that it wasn't just at one generation level. Sometimes it was multiple generations. So maybe those parents had a disadvantage too, but the parents before them had a disadvantage. And so it just kind of trickled down. And so, our hope and prayer is that, you could change all that.
Right. And getting people to understand that. And when you consider that 60% of adults who have unresolved issues, it stems from their childhood. And I would imagine that that percentage is even higher for people who have found themselves incarcerated, and being able to change those tapes that they've heard and that behavior that they saw. That's
Yeah.
all a part of the restoration that
Yeah.
you do in your organization.
Yeah.
And that's why so many do not go back. They don't turn back
Yeah.
because you've gotten to the core of their issues, and you've helped them to identify what those issues are and what they can do to change all of that.
Yeah. And again, and they have to partake and be engaged in the work too. Like that we have the tools, we have
Yes.
the support, and we our role is to get them to let us help you. Let us help you, you know, engage in that process of making a change, doing something different, and thinking about it differently. My mother used to say, in terms of like different value systems and behavior, she said, it's just like if you grew up in a house where it was okay to just jump on coffee tables. That's just what you did. It was okay, it was allowed. And then you walk in here and someone says, well, jumping on coffee tables, you're not allowed to do that. That's crazy. Well, not to someone maybe who's been jumping on coffee tables for 25 years. I jumped on
Exactly.
coffee tables. My siblings jumped on coffee tables. My parents jumped on coffee tables. Well, who are you to say jumping on coffee tables is crazy? And so she would just break it down to something that trivial. That when you
Yes.
to address maybe a value system or behavior pattern of what all that entails, and it's not just as simple as saying, "Well, no, just don't do it." It's
Right.
really teaching and educating in a way to show the benefit of why would maybe jumping on coffee tables not be beneficial? You could fall and hit your
Right.
head, twist your lip, break a leg. What would be better though than jumping on a table? Why are you jumping on a table in the first place? What is that releasing? What are you getting out of that? How then can we recreate that same satisfaction of whatever that brings, and do something in a different way that would be more healthy, or maybe not have such a harsh consequence to it, that
Yeah.
might be even more acceptable in the kind of life that you want to build now. Because you can't go in,
Exactly.
an employer can't go into the workplace with some of these behaviors. So, it's just the way the world is. Some things are just not acceptable. Some thinking patterns aren't acceptable. And so it's like, so how do we get you to kind of like bridge that gap, to
Exactly.
teach something different?
And it's sad, if you have not seen anything different, it becomes normal to you until you experience something different. And
Yes.
so with your organization, you're acknowledging where they're at and what
Yes.
they've done, how, and all of that, but also letting them know that that does not necessarily have to be the case.
That's right. Doesn't have to be the case. You can make some changes here. You can think about the kind of life you want to live, the kind of quality life you want to have, regardless of the age that you start at right now. Regardless of your age, if you're younger, middle, or older, you have an opportunity to think about the life that you want to have,
Yes.
and start to learn and develop some tools or some ways or strategies to go about implementing that. And
Yes.
so our and we can be here as a guide, to just be another voice to say, okay, well, that might not be the healthiest way to do it. That might, here's another way to go about that or to see it. And then let's do the benefit, the cost analysis to see, is that really going to benefit you, or is this the best thing that would benefit you at this point? Even the priorities and how to go about different goals. But again, so much is contingent upon, them wanting to engage in the process as well. So for every success story, to me, it's like, to God be the glory, because
Yes.
it would only be God working it out. True deliverance comes from God anyway, at least that's my perspective. And so it's like, okay, well, Lord, every time it works out, it's like, well, to God be the glory. Well,
Yes.
it's your work, Lord.
Yes.
And if nobody else cares, you do.
Yes. And I can imagine
And
there
God before you,
who can be against you? Who
can be against you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I can just imagine you have people that are very resistant that come into, they don't want to be there. And like you said earlier, they just want to get out, get a job, go home. But as a result of what it is that you're doing with them, they themselves acknowledge and recognize the transformation that has occurred in their lives. And
Absolutely.
I can imagine that they're really grateful and thankful that they had this opportunity before just getting out and going back into all kinds of different environments that they don't know how to deal with because they haven't been taught.
That's right. And that is so true. And we'll have clients like write letters on their way out to say, thank you so much. I think the last one we had, I feel like it was like 3 pages. It was so lengthy.
Wow.
He just poured out his heart about how he was so grateful for the program, the opportunity, all the staff that he felt like helped him along the way. And so, we love getting that feedback too, when they're share like real specifically, how much it meant to them.
Wow. Do you ever do video testimonials from them?
We really haven't done video testimonies. I
might
think we might have had a few in the over the years, but it's not any on a regular basis. But that's a good idea.
I think it's a good idea.
I would agree. That's a great idea.
Okay, I thought I'd throw that out there.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do that because on paper it's one thing, and we know the client, and so we could hear the voice. But for it to really be expand beyond to maybe even have other clients to be able to see it.
Yes,
that would be a great thing for even new ones coming in. Look at us knowing something right as we speak.
Yes,
God's gonna be in this whole interview.
Yes,
so that's something right there, to have those video testimonials as soon as they come in the door. I think for our new folks would be such a great addition to like their start there.
Yes, and it will also help with funding.
Okay, we're gonna have to talk more about that.
We've got 33.
That's always a thing. So
yes. So we've got less than a minute. I'm going to give you the floor and let you have the final words, and then I'm going to close us out. And if you would just hold on a minute as I close out, but I'm going to give you the floor right now to finish and wrap it up for us.
okay, I think to wrap up, let's see, hard task. Who would have thought? I would just say that, first of all, Vera, thanks for having me on the show. This isn't something that I would typically do, as I have said to you before. Um, but I am so glad that you had me on. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to speak about what we do at the organization. And I think I would just leave the audience with just knowing that we're serious about the work that we do. We do see it as a ministry. It is that when we're this platform to impact lives. And we appreciate those who in the community who do support us. We'd love to have even more community support, but we really are working hard to fill in the gaps for folks who are coming and returning home back into our community, and want them to feel they're in a safe, healthy space where there's people there who care and want to help see their transition and transformation process through.
Well, I thank you for being here. I thank you for pouring into my audience. And I thank you for your faith and sharing that faith to help other people understand that you're not alone. And whatever you're going through, this too shall pass.
Yes.
So thank you. And our listening audience, we will see you on Thursday. I've got a family coming that has, because of the father finding the Lord, the whole family has found him. And it's a powerful, this guy had an encounter with the Lord. I mean, a serious encounter. And I mean, he's done a 180-degree turnaround, and his family is now with him on this journey. So join us on Thursday as we talk to Rodney Thompson and his family. All right. Thank you. And with that, we're going to say, God bless. Good night.
Let's talk about it. On the Vera Thomas Show. The Vera Thomas Show.